You have to ask Luka what he saw on that, but I thought he had a good look, and it looked like he kind of just lost his balance, didn't have a rhythm with the ball, whatever the case may be.
It was kind of be a tough opportunity.
I mean, I just saw him open. I didn't want to lose the ball, and we didn't have timeouts, But like I said, shouldn't have picked up the ball. I should attack. I thought I was getting a clean look, but that's on me.
LeBron James made the choice that changes everything for Luka Doncic. And the biggest part of it is not some trade, not some press conference, and not some loud moment for headlines. It is much deeper than that. LeBron chose to step back so Luka could step all the way forward. That is the story. That is the turning point. That is why this version of the Lakers feels different from the teams we watched earlier in the season. For months, people kept asking the same question. Can LeBron and Luka really share the same floor and both stay at their best? Can two players who both control so much of the offense really make it work when the games get tight, when the defense gets serious, and when every possession starts to matter more? And now we are finally starting to see the answer. The answer is yes, but only because LeBron made a decision that most all-time greats never make. He decided that this team does not need him to be the center of everything anymore. It needs him to help build the world around Luka. That is not a small thing. This is LeBron James we are talking about, the all-time leading scorer, one of the smartest players the game has ever seen. A man who has spent his whole career reading defenses, controlling pace, calling the shots, and deciding where games go. Players like that do not usually change this late. They do not usually hand the keys over in a real way. They might say the right things. They might talk about sacrifice. They might tell reporters that winning is all that matters. But then the game starts, and they drift right back into being the main engine.
And Luka too. And I think you started down this path with Austin, in that you started empowering him. You started picking more spots, saying I don't need to control everything. Yeah. As we feel in the heart of our career, you feel like we can't lose, I can't give the game away. When it comes down the stretch, I got to make every decision, right? So empowering your teammates is important, especially when you're near 22.
Absolutely.
Right? So what I've been impressed with everybody, but in particularly you, is your ability to be a spacer.
Because that is what they have always been. That is what makes LeBron's decision so important here. He did not just talk about making room for Luka. He actually did it. He changed the way he plays, the way he attacks, the way he handles the ball, and the way he fits into the flow of the team. And because of that, Luka is no longer just another star standing next to LeBron. He is now becoming the full force this team is built around. That changes Luka forever. Because every great player needs one thing before he can become truly unstoppable. He needs structure. He needs clarity. He needs a world where everyone knows who he is supposed to be and where the game naturally bends in his direction. For a long stretch, the Lakers did not have that. They had talent, yes. They had big names, yes. They had scoring, experience, and enough playmaking to look dangerous on paper. But on the floor, it often felt messy. One night it was LeBron controlling everything. Another night it was Luka drifting in and out. Some nights Austin Reeves carried extra load. Some nights the offense looked smooth for a quarter and then fell apart because nobody had truly committed to a clear order. And when that happens, even elite talent can feel smaller than it should. Great players do not only need freedom, they need the right kind of freedom. That is why the change matters so much. The Lakers are not suddenly better because LeBron disappeared. They are better because the old version of LeBron disappeared. The version that still wanted to touch every action, bring the ball up every time, and spend large stretches of the game acting like the main creator. That version created too much overlap. It was not bad basketball. It was just crowded basketball. Luka is at his best when he can feel the whole defense leaning toward him. He is at his best when he knows the offense is truly his to shape. He is at his best when every screen, every cut, and every angle is helping him get the exact read he wants. If another superstar is still taking a huge share of that same space, the whole thing gets muddy. Not broken, but muddy. And muddy teams do not become special in May and June. The biggest sign that things changed came when LeBron missed those games and the Lakers kept winning. A lot of people looked at that stretch and rushed to the easy take. They said the Lakers were better without LeBron. That was never the full truth. The full truth was more interesting than that. The Lakers were better without the old role LeBron had been playing. Once that became clear, the next question was obvious. Would LeBron come back and reclaim everything the way stars usually do, or would he see what the team needed and actually adjust? And this is where the shocking decision comes in. He adjusted. He came...
I was in Serbia.
No, but we'll obviously try to get that rescinded. I'm not sure what happened. I do know that, there were certain things said in a language that the referees couldn't understand in references to Luka's mom. I think they just... Austin gets targeted 3 times by Carter. Like they didn't have a real good control of that basketball game.
LeBron has every reason in the world to keep being LeBron in the biggest, loudest way possible. He has earned that right more than almost anyone who has ever played. But he looked at this team and understood something simple. Luka is the one player on this roster who can bend the floor in a way nobody else can. Luka can get to a shot against almost any defender. Luka can slow the game down or speed it up with one read. Luka can hunt mismatches until a defense breaks. Luka can create panic with the ball in his hands, even when he is not moving fast, because his mind is always one step ahead of the coverage. Once LeBron fully accepted that truth, the whole shape of the Lakers changed. Now you see LeBron screening for Luka instead of calling for Luka to clear out. You see LeBron rolling to the basket, dragging defenders with him, opening passing lanes, and turning himself into a target instead of a traffic point. You see him catching the ball on the move after Luka already drew 2 defenders. You see him making quick swing passes instead of holding the ball and resetting everything. You see him using his size, his timing, and his feel to keep the advantage alive after Luka creates it. And that is the key. Luka creates the advantage. The offense starts there now. The defense has to answer him first. That one change is huge, because once the defense has to answer Luka first, everybody else gets easier basketball. And LeBron has been brilliant in that role. That is what makes this even more serious. It would be one thing if he accepted a smaller offensive role and became average in it, but he is not. He has turned into one of the best stars in the league at doing less while still doing damage. That is hard, really hard. Some stars only know how to dominate one way. They need the whole game built around their touches. They need volume to feel in rhythm. They need to be the sun in the middle of the system or they start fading. LeBron is too smart for that. He knows how to hurt teams in motion. He knows how to make a quick read. He knows how to punish a defense after someone else already cracked it. So when he decided to become the third option in a real functional way, it did not make him harmless. It made the Lakers more balanced and more dangerous. That is why this move changes Luka forever. Because now Luka is no longer being asked to share power in an unclear system. He is being given a full stage with real support around him. That is how MVP-level players become even bigger. Not just by scoring more, but by finally playing inside a structure that fits who they are. In the past, Luka has often had to do everything at once. He had to carry creation, scoring, late clock problem solving, and emotional control. He had to create magic out of chaos. That is part of why he is so special. He can take broken possessions and turn them into points. He can survive in messy offense better than most players in the league. But the scary version of Luka is not the one surviving chaos. The scary version is the one operating inside order, the one with spacing, the one with clear timing, the one with another all-time great helping him instead of overlapping with him. Look at the run the Lakers have been. Too many players were stuck between roles. Too many possessions ended with the opponent getting exactly the shot it wanted. A team can survive bad defense for a while if the offense is beautiful enough, but when the season tightens, bad defense gets exposed. That is why so many people stayed skeptical about the Lakers even when they had talent on paper. Nobody trusted that they could get enough stops when it mattered. Now that part is changing too, and a lot of it starts with identity. Marcus Smart has given them edge, pressure, and a clear tone on the perimeter. He makes every catch harder. He annoys ball handlers. He turns comfort into stress. That kind of player matters so much because he gives the rest of the team a defensive mood to follow. Every good defense needs someone who sets the emotional standard, someone who says, "We are not going to let the other team breathe easily." Smart has brought that, and because of that, the Lakers are not just hoping for stops anymore. They are creating them. They are forcing bad possessions. They're closing space better. They are making stars work harder. And once the stops come, the offense gets even easier because Luka in transition with LeBron filling lanes is a nightmare. That is another reason LeBron's decision matters. When he stepped back from being the main offensive engine every second, he also saved energy for the parts of the game that glue everything together. He can rebound harder, he can rotate faster, he can think one step ahead without carrying the full scoring burden. And when LeBron is thinking the game instead of dragging it, everybody around him benefits. Luka benefits because the floor opens. Smart benefits because there is better support behind his pressure. Reeves benefits because he does not have to carry as much impossible creation. The shooters benefit because the quality of their looks improves. The whole team becomes more connected because the hierarchy is finally clear. And once that clarity showed up, Luka took off. That is the third and biggest piece of this whole story. The structure did not just make the Lakers more stable, it unlocked monster-level Luka, the version that people have always feared, the version that looks like he can score 40 without rushing, 50 without forcing, and 60 without losing control of the game. This is the Luka every fan thinks about when MVP talk starts. This is the Luka who looks like he is solving basketball while everyone else is still trying to play it. Over this winning stretch, he has not only been scoring huge numbers, he has been doing it in different ways against different kinds of defenses, and that is what makes it even more impressive. Some nights he is breaking teams down in isolation. Some nights he is punishing switches until the defense gives up. Some nights he is walking into threes because the drop coverage is too deep. Some nights he is making the weak side pay over and over with skip passes and late reads. And then there are the games where he mixes all of it together and you realize the defense has no answer because every possible adjustment opens a different wound. That is what peak Luka looks like. It's not just the points, it's the feeling that whatever the defense tries next is already too late. When he's in that zone, he controls the rhythm of the game like a conductor. He decides when it gets heavy, when it gets slow, when it gets ugly, and when it breaks open. The Miami game was the perfect example of that. A lot of people will only remember the final point total because huge scoring nights always get turned into highlight packages. But what made that performance special was the context. The Lakers had just played in Houston. They flew late, landed early, and were working on almost no rest. That should have been a schedule loss. That should have been one of those nights where the legs look dead and the shots come up short. Instead, Luka came out and attacked one of the best defenders in the league again and again, not hiding from the matchup, not searching for a weaker target, going straight at strength and beating it. That tells you everything about where his game is right now. When a player can dominate in bad schedule conditions against serious defenders while carrying
That is why I say this changes him forever. Luka has had freedom before. He has had usage before. He has had big numbers before. But this is different. This is the first time he is getting the full package on this level with LeBron truly backing the structure. That changes how a superstar sees leadership. It changes how he sees pace. It changes how he sees the responsibilities of being the number one option. When another all-time great steps back and says, "This is your world now," the message hits differently. It tells Luka the franchise is not asking him to share the crown politely. It is asking him to wear it. That kind of trust can change a player's mindset for the rest of his career. Because now Luka knows what it feels like when the hierarchy is clean and the team breathes through him. He knows what it feels like when the spacing, the cutting, the screening, and the late-game decision-making all point in one direction. He knows what it feels like when his star partner is not competing for control, but helping him own it. That is a career-shaping experience. It is one thing to be told you are the future. It is another thing to be given the actual structure of a championship-level team and told to go lead it now. That is what LeBron just did. Austin Reaves deserves credit here too, because he has accepted the middle space that makes this work. He is not trying to be more important than the system needs him to be. He is handling secondary creation, attacking bent defenses, and making smart plays without demanding the whole floor. Every good offense needs a player like that. Someone skilled enough to punish mistakes, but smart enough to know when to step forward and when to step back. Reaves has given the Lakers that, and because of that, Luka does not have to solve every possession alone. There is another handler who can relieve pressure, keep the ball moving, and attack when the defense rotates too hard. That kind of support makes stars even more dangerous because it keeps them from having to overwork for every good look. Then there's coaching. J.J. Redick deserves serious credit for this too. A lot of people doubted whether he could handle a locker room with names this big and habits this strong. It is one thing to draw upsets. It is another thing to convince LeBron James to truly shift roles, convince Luka to fully take control, and get the rest of the roster to commit to a new balance without causing tension. That is not easy coaching. That is relationship coaching. That is identity coaching. That is seeing the team clearly enough to know what it actually needs and then being brave enough to ask powerful players to change. Plenty of coaches understand the right answer on paper. Not many can get stars to live it. What Redick has helped do is turn the Lakers from a collection of talent into an actual team shape. That is why they look different now. The old version could still beat people on talent. This version is starting to beat people with function. That is what good teams do. They know who starts the action, they know who finishes it, they know who cleans up the details, they know where the defensive tone comes from, they know who gets the last hard shot when the game gets ugly. The Lakers did not have enough of that certainty before. Now they do, and the biggest reason they do is because LeBron allowed the pecking order to settle in a way that favors Luka fully. That is why I keep coming back to the word forever. This is not just a hot month. This is not just one good stretch where Luka got loose and the shots fell. This is a blueprint moment. This is a proof moment. This is the kind of run that can shape the next 5 years of a player's career because it teaches him the exact environment he needs to reach his highest form. Even if the Lakers do not win the title this year, this stretch still matters in a huge way because it shows Luka what real support feels like. It shows him the difference between being a star with talent around him and being the center of a truly organized contender. That lesson stays with a player. It also changes how the rest of the league sees him. Before, people knew Luka could carry an offense. They knew he could put up numbers. They knew he could make impossible shots and own playoff moments.
But now they're watching him operate inside a structure that looks more complete, and that changes the fear level. Because when a player like Luka stops fighting his own team's confusion and starts working with a clear machine around him, the ceiling rises fast. Defenses can no longer hope the offense will clog itself up. They can no longer hope possession confusion will save them. They have to deal with the real thing, and the real thing is brutal. The Orlando game actually showed this just as much as the big scoring explosions did, because in that game, Luka was great early and then cooled off. The offense stalled, the Lakers fell behind late. In older versions of this team, that might have been enough to finish them, but they still found a way to win. Reaves made plays, Smart made a play, Kennard hit the shot. And that matters because it shows the system does not die the second Luka stops scoring at an unreal rate. The structure stays alive, the spacing stays alive, the belief stays alive. That is how serious teams operate. That is why this whole thing feels more trustworthy now than some of the fake hot stretches teams go on late in a season. Of course, there are still questions. There are always questions. Can they keep defending at this level? Can LeBron maintain this role if the pressure gets even higher? Can Luka keep this balance between scoring and playmaking when playoff defenses load up hard? Can the role players keep hitting enough shots when the crowd gets louder and every mistake feels heavier? Those are real questions, and nobody should pretend otherwise. But the important thing is that the Lakers now look like a team asking the right questions. Earlier in the year, they were still trying to figure out who they were. That is a much worse place to be. Now they know. Luka is the engine. LeBron is the great connector and finisher. Reeves is the pressure release. Smart is the defensive tone setter. The role players know where their shots are coming from. The coach has a clear identity to push. That is not everything, but it is a lot. In this league, half the battle is knowing what kind of team you are before the playoffs begin. The Lakers finally seem to know. And if you are Luka Doncic, that has to feel huge. Because maybe for the first time in a long time, maybe for the first time at this level, he is not just the genius trying to solve everything alone. He is the star at the center of a system that truly understands him. And the wild part is that the person who made that possible was LeBron James. Not by scoring more, not by taking over louder, by doing the harder thing, by giving ground, by choosing fit over pride, by showing that the smartest superstar in the room is the one who knows when it is time to stop trying to be the whole room. That is why this decision is shocking, not because LeBron is selfish, he has always been willing to make smart basketball plays, but because players of his level, with his legacy, almost never make this kind of shift so completely. They do not usually become the third option in spirit and in action. They do not usually say, "This is your team now," and then actually play like they mean it. LeBron did, and because he did, Luka has entered a new level of power. So when people ask what changed the Lakers, the answer is not just the winning streak, it is not just the scoring, it is not just a hot week from three. The answer is that LeBron James made a basketball decision that changed the structure of the whole team. He accepted that the best version of the Lakers is the version where Luka sits at the center of everything. He embraced a role that supports that truth, and in doing so, he may have done something even bigger than helping the Lakers win right now. He may have shown Luka Doncic the exact shape of the superstar he is supposed to become. That is why this moment matters. That is why it feels bigger than a regular season run. And that is why this could change Luka forever. Because once a player feels this kind of trust, this kind of clarity, and this kind of full control inside a winning structure, he does not go backward. He grows into it. He demands it. He becomes it. And if that is what we are watching now, then this is not just a hot streak from the Lakers. This is the start of a new era in how Luka Doncic is going to be seen, used, and feared for the rest of his career.